Hi, thanks for joining me today. It's Kathie. I have a new project to share with you. We're going to be featuring the July 2017 paper pumpkin kit, and our alternate project is a Peacock card today. And just to let you know, what inspired me to create this card is the tulip stamp along with the cloud stamp from the kit. But just a little bit of a warning, today's card is a little bit more advanced, so it'll be a bit difficult to create, but I hope you're going to be up for the challenge. Okay, we're going to get started with a white piece of cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I have a plate here, which is about 7 1/4 inch in diameter. And just kind of create a little tick mark on the right side of the card there, about halfway, and then about 1/2 inch or 1 inch down from the top of the left side. And then grab your plate and butt it up to those markings, and then just trace out the curve. So that'll help you create a nice curve for the tail of the peacock. And then with lemon line twist, you're just gonna lay down a nice color, base color for the tail using a blending tool. Okay, and then we're gonna draw out, or we're gonna stamp out the body of the peacock. And what we're gonna use is the tulip stamp. I do have it upside down on my block there. And we're gonna stamp out the shape of the oval first. And I decided I'm going to go all the way down. And then once you're done that, we'll just fill in the inside of that oval. And I thought it was a little bit narrow, so I did stamp along the edges a bit more just to widen it. And then once we're done that, we're going to grab the cloud stamp, and we're going to use the garden green color. And when you're stamping the cloud, make sure you don't put any ink on that straight part of that cloud. We just want the curved part to create a lumpy body for the peacock. Okay, and then just stagger your stamping, and then turn your stamp to the side so that it creates lumps on the side of the body also. And then I'm just kind of filling in a little bit of the sides there with a lemon line twist. Okay, and then now once you're done that, we're going to create the eyes for the peacock tail with the tulip stamp. We're just going to stamp in a fan direction and stagger each time you stamp. And then with a yellow Stampin' Write marker, I believe it's Daffodil Delight, I'm just coloring inside of the tulips. And then with Tempting Turquoise, I'm just going to draw like an oval shape inside each of those tulips, and then just color it in part way to create an eye. And then with Pacific Point, I'm just going to dot each one of those just to add a bit more detail. And then I did mess up on this next part with Melon Mambo. I colored inside the eye, which was wrong. I should have colored outside. So I should have just did a little stroke on the outside of the eye there, but I'm just going to move on. And I'm using Dapper Denim, and I'm just going to shade around the body. And that way it emphasizes the body itself, and then the color of the body also pops. And then as you're shading around, just kind of lightly shade outwards, and make sure you don't shade over top of each of those eyes, because you want the background color and the color of the eye itself to pop out. All right, and then the top part of the tail, I'm just coloring a little bit more darker with the lemon line twist. And then I'm also going to go back with the Dapper Denim again and just put down another layer and just getting it just a little bit darker around the body and outwards. And then we're going to work on the top part of the tail. Now I started to shade it, but I decided I'm going to just dot it with the dauber. And when you do this, go a little bit more lighter than the way I did. Because what you want to do is you want to blend this in to the tail with the Dapper Denim and also with the lemon line twist color. Just kind of keep blending at it, and then go inwards towards the tail so that it blends And also, you know, you have some low lights and highlights in between. And then once you're happy with that, we'll just shade it along the edges of the card there, just to tie it all in. And then I made a makeshift mask here. I'm just going to create just a small little halo of color here with Melamumbo. Just do this really lightly. All right, and then with Soft Sky, we're just going to tie in the Melamumbo color and also give it a nice shade along the edge there so it looks much more finished. And there is this white little halo on the top part of that tail, so I'm just going to put some Dapper Denim there just to darken it up. All right, and then we're going to move on to the detail of the tail, and we're going to draw straight lines. But make sure you go in a fan direction. I drew big sections first, and then I filled in each of the sections. I just find this a little bit easier when you do it by sections. And that way everything looks somewhat uniform. I think that looks pretty cool. And then this next part, I kind of messed up here. I drew my first fan line or eye line. I don't know what you call this part, but the hairy part of each eye, that first one, I kind of messed up here. But I'm just going to make do and just make sure when you draw these little squiggly lines, which is somewhat like we're going to suggest the feathers of each eye. So pretend you're drawing like a leaf or a flame from a candle. Okay. Okay, so we're moving on to the next step here. Cut out a piece of cardstock about 3 inches high and about 1 1/4 inches wide. And we're just going to draw with your pencil. Like so. I hope you don't find it too difficult to mimic this because we're going to draw the body of the peacock. So I'm just kind of showing you in little steps for each part. Okay, and then the top part, I'm just going to fix that a little bit because I think it's too long. So we're going to shorten that a little bit. Okay. It almost looks like a keyhole or a bowling pin, that kind of a shape. Cut it out with your scissors. And then here's where you can decide if you want to make certain areas a little more narrower or a little bit more wider. Okay, and then I'm going to shade in this and color in the body. And when you do this, as you're shading from the edge, just go a little bit lighter as you come inwards. And leave a little bit of a white section, which is going to be a highlight for the body. And that makes your image come to life instead of it looking flat. And yes, you are going to have inky fingers. Now we're going to create the crest for the top of the head of the peacock. And I just drew like a bunch of dots. And make sure you have one dot in the center really high up, like a triangular shape. And then your strokes for the bottom part, just make it into a triangle shape also. And when you cut this out, make sure you leave a little piece at the bottom so that you can use that to glue it onto the head. Okay, now it could be a little bit more taller, but I decided to make it a little bit short so it doesn't take away from the look of the peacock. And then I did create my sentiments in advance. I just stamped it out in black ink and fussy cut them out. And then I also put some foam tape on them. Okay, and then I did cut down the peacock panel to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then I mounted it on garden green, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now here's the fun part. We're going to create the face. With Pacific Point, I just sketched in the shape of the beak. And then with my white gel pen, I'm just going to, draw in the face details. And it does come out a little bit light, so you're going to do maybe 2 to 3 layers once it's dried. And the beak, honestly, could be a little bit longer. Just a little bit more longer, but I didn't want to fuss with it. Afterwards, I did think it was a little bit too short, but I decided I'm going to just leave it. Next, we're just going to glue down the crown to get that all ready. Okay, and then here's where you're going to start yelling at me. I let it dry a little bit, and now I'm going to fuss some more. I'm going to put another layer of the white, and then I'm going to grab the Dapper Denim marker and create some dark shadows underneath the beak, around the head, under the eyes there. And it does somewhat clean up the lines. And I can hear you yelling at me some more. And I wanted the top of the head just a little bit darker, so I drew that little triangular shape, and then I thought I needed to soften it a bit, so I did grab my dauber and just daubed away there. But then it hit onto my white pigment ink there, and I had to lay a couple more layers on that to get that to not be the blue color. Okay, so I got that all fixed up, and then I erased it with dimensionals, and I did put it on the card front there, but make sure it doesn't overlap on any of the eyes, because you don't want to take away from the crest. All right, and then to finish it off, I put it back on that plate, and then here's a couple of stills. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.